What's going on, New Orleans? It is Benny P here on February 18th, Tuesday, 2025. I am here with my best friend, my mentor, my professor, my partner in crime, my girlfriend, Gethein Grace Marie Andrew. Gethein, if we could get a quick introduction. Who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Gethein Andrew. I'm currently a Ph.D. candidate at LSU HSC. I would consider myself a current professional student and budding intellectual or an academic. I think some of these questions will be interesting to answer, as I originally do want to do federal research, and as we know, that is a hard to discuss topic at the moment. Right? So I am currently a geneticist, and I work at a wet lab, which means I do benchtop research.
Sweet. So what would a typical day of work look like for you?
For me personally, a day in the life means making one step further towards my dissertation. I want to complete a couple of tasks that I know are going to creep me towards a graduation. So
just quick for the audience, what is a dissertation?
Okay, so a thesis, it's a master's. It's a dissertation is a collection of a specific niche field. It is a question that you and your mentor work together to come up with, and it is an answerable question that you can write up and sum up for a lay audience. So at the end of my research, I will present my dissertation, which will be my one question that I wanted to answer in my 5 years gaining my doctoral degree.
Sweet. So yeah, what does this typical day look like?
A day in the life for me is I go to the lab, I unlock the doors, I turn the lights on, and I make myself a cup of coffee. And then I start with my mice. So I have 3 or 4 mouse strains. My job is trying to cross them to get a better strain. So I will usually purify some DNA. I'll do some PCRs. A PCR is a reaction that tells me if my mice have a certain gene, yes or no. So I have 70 cages of mice, going on 140, so I have to keep up with them. I have to know who they are. I have to know how to use them. I have to know what to do with those organs. So day to day for me is playing with my mice.
Sweet, that sounds awesome. So what are the skills that are required for this position, and how do those skills allow you to progress through the fields?
So academia is actually, it varies. It varies a broad range of skills. So for a PhD to be an academic, I have a master's. I know people who only have bachelors that decide to go into science, benchtop science, some sort of research background. For my specific purposes, I need a PhD. I want to do a federal research. I want to be a postdoc. I want to benchtop my own science questions. I want to be my own PI. So I would need a PhD credential.
PI?
A principal investigator. That is the person who, it's the intellectual property. Their research question is theirs. So if I come up with the research question, I'm going to write up a grant. And on that grant, I am the principal investigator because it is my property.
Sweet. So what are the skills required for this position?
Again, that varies pretty heavily. I've always been in some sort of research program, so my bachelor's and my master's were more of a lab tech. And of course, you can always get a master's and be a lab tech if you get tired of academia. But the skills for me would be knowing how to do basic science techniques. So it would be like PCRs, Western blotting, how to make and grow cell culture mediums, growing cells in general. Mouse husbandry. I need, I have to be certified for, to take care of my mice. They have to know that I'm going to do a good job.
And how do those skills allow you to accelerate through the fields?
Yeah, the more skills that I can say that I have mastered, that gives me a broader range. So say I didn't want to do federal research, say I wanted to go straight into industry, those skills would help me get a very niche job in industry. I could go and work at Jackson Labs with just the mouse research. I could postdoc anywhere in academia because I know basic science benchtop. I've been introduced to a lot of the things throughout the 3 degrees, so I have a pretty broad range of skills. So yeah, whatever your niche field is, you'll find a job in it. Somebody needs that help.
Sweet. That all sounds awesome. What are the most challenging aspects of this position?
There's a lot of challenging aspects to gaining a doctoral degree in any field, whether it be an MD, a Ph.D., a PT, a dentist, a DMT, a veterinarian. I would say the worst part is being flexible. I think everybody is very type A, and you think you know exactly what you want to do and you go into it, and then it's not a linear path, it's a winding road. That path is never going to be the shortest route possible because there will be kinks. So the most challenging part would be learning to take a step back from the situation and understanding that you can't control it all and that you're just going to have to make the best out of what you have been given.
What are the most rewarding aspects of this position?
I know that at the end of the day, I am going to help a human. My research, it does have a disease background to it. I research genetic disorders. The mice that I breed have those. And I know that even if it takes a decade or a century, I'm going to step science 1 foot forward. The question that I answer in my dissertation is going to move the field of ataxic disorders 1 step closer to helping a human.
You kind of touched on this, the credential requirements, the doctorate.
For me, I would need a doctorate, yes.
And is there anything beyond that?
Oh, you can rack them up. I know a lot of people that I wouldn't say are forever students but they are permanently in academia. So I do have mentors in the fields that have 2 or 3 PhDs or 2 or 3 masters. And so while there is nothing higher, there is no degree higher than a PhD, you can get more than 1.
How would you describe the training that most greatly contributed to your development of achieving this position? You mentioned your mentors.
It would be the mentors along the way. I've had some really inspirational ones in my youth that it kind of showed me that I had a spark of curiosity instead of having a 9-to-5, which would be absolutely devastating for my personality. I went for what I was most curious about, and I think the mentors are what showed me that. But also, I've had some very hard to deal with mentors that truly did push me and shape me in more ways than I can ever thank them for. They showed me that I would need a backbone. I would need tough skin to go far in this career, and I appreciate that more than they know.
How would one go about entering into this profession?
Research. Like, in your undergrad, I think that's where most people get curious about.
What do you study in undergrad? Do you need
basic sciences. So a lot of kids enter like for their nursing classes. They they have a microbiology class with a lab, right? And then they fall in love with a benchtop experience because you get to work with your hands. You get to
say like you didn't get like a Bachelor of Science. Then how would you break into this?
I think that would be a little more difficult. You'd have to go like a backdoor route. Like maybe you could do like work in a clinic for a little while. They'll let you do little things in like the front office, and you could maybe get a job like analyzing slides, like somebody could teach you how to do that with just your eyeballs. That would be difficult actually, unless you had like an educational space. I'm not sure how you would learn research technique.
So you kind of like knew pretty early on.
I was interested in science. Yeah, okay. So I started with health sciences and ended up in the class. So people would go biology. I mean, you can do chemistry labs because also get you in the door. Even like bioinformatics. Oh, that would be a good one. Bioinformatics. There's a ton of people that just dry lab research. And so you can pull people's data sets from the web because they're all public access. So if you have a specific research question, you can pull mass data sets from big labs that do like single cell or genomic or epigenomic research. And they publish all of that, you pull it, and then you can code for your question. So that would be one way to do it. And there's a lot of labs that will like team up with a bioinformatician, and then you are doing research, like you are answering their questions. So that would be one way.
What are some of the personality traits that one must possess to be successful in this field? You said type A.
What is that? Well, one of my classes one time, they were making us take tests, and they said that most scientists are INTJ. I happen to be ENTJ. I'm just a yapper. Personality traits would be like, I would say ADHD.
Sweet.
You have to be able to do 17 tasks at once. You have to be able to drop something and not worry about its fidelity for right now. You got to be able to move from one to the next fairly quickly because you never know when you're going to have the funds. You have to also be quite organized because you are doing so many research projects at one time. You need to be able to keep track of what data goes where and what you need to do next in an orderly fashion. So that's what I mean by type A. You very get it done. Most scientists that I know are not scared to be a little confrontational, especially when there is a task at hand.
Where do you see the nature of future positions in this field going?
That one's a rough one. That one is a rough one.
You mentioned the
the political climate is not excellent for science right now. I think a federal position for me is, unless something switches within the next year, it's just not a safe decision. In that case, I would either do like startups, and a startup is an aggressive environment, but it's fast cash, and you are gonna make money quick as long as you do the right job. So intermittent funds, that's always fun and adrenaline rushing. As for the climate of my job, I think it will stabilize. They can't do everything that they say they are. It's going to get blocked. I think everything will eventually be fine. You can't just neglect all of the academics in the country and not hear their voice. The people who are in charge of knowing very specific information are being told that they're wrong on that specific information. You just can't believe it.
So are positions becoming more or less scarce?
They're becoming more scarce.
Okay.
Currently, a lot of us are just not getting paid. So labs are having to continue doing their research, but with no funds. So if you can't keep up with that demand, then in 6 months, you will fall behind and you will no longer have the status that you formerly did. But again, the funds aren't going to be halted forever. So eventually, there'll be a job market.
So how would one persist through competition? Like, what makes one person better than the next?
You have to know more people. You have to get your name out there. You have to get your research out there. It really is a hustler's game. You need to be doing something that is different from everybody else, and you need to speak loudly about it.
Why would you suggest someone or recommend someone take this career path?
I truly love it. Every day is different. That's why I kind of avoided question number 1. Every day is different. I don't have a strict...
You don't have a typical day.
I get to do what I want as long as I get my shit done. There's writing, there is benchtop, there's computer work, it's truly what you want to make it. And a life in academia is whatever you want it to be. Whatever you put into academia, she's going to give you back. And I love that. I like the instability. I like the rush. And I like being gratified in my chosen career path. Like, I don't go to my 9 to 5 and then come home every day feeling like I did not shit. I come home and I'm like, I got so much done, and this is definitely making me better.
All right. Thank you so much, Gethein Andrew. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast tonight.
You're so welcome.
And we look forward to hearing from you again on the political landscape that plays out in the genetic research field.
No, I have an opinion for you.
And we look forward to hearing that opinion.